Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you already know that this is my series in which I use tarot and oracle cards to help me explore topics related to living the intentional life. And friends, this is part 2 of a 2-part video. With the spread that I've been using for the last lunar cycle and this lunar cycle, for this spread, it's really deep, it's really intense, and there's a lot there. So I've split it up into 2 different parts, part 1 and part 2. And in part 1, I go through the top 2 triangles of the Tree of Life. This is the Tree of Life spread, a spread that, at least for me, I have developed. Other people may have developed one just the same, but for me, I have developed this spread for myself, for us. And the first video I do the top and middle triangle. In this video, I'm going to do the last triangle, and then we're going to go through and read the entire spread together in 3 different ways. The mother pillar first, then the father pillar, and then the lightning path leading down the entire tree. So that's what we're about to do. And if you haven't seen part 1, I'll put a card up here for you to hop over and take a look at that, and then come back over here, just in case you missed that one. So friends, here we go. I'm going to show you the second downward facing triangle, the 3rd triangle of the Tree of Life, which is the etheric triangle or the psychological triangle, depending on who you listen to. Here it is. So that was the etheric triangle. Yeah? And what do you think of that deck? I'm sorry, this is the deck that is out of print. Very out of print. You can possibly find copies of it here and there on like eBay or something, but it really is very out of print. And God, I hope they bring it back someday. It's a beautiful deck by Stuart Kaplan. And if you're curious about these decks in this video, there will be a short clip at the end of this video which gives you the names of the decks and the names of the creators. And as usual, in the description box below, there will be links for you to go and purchase the decks that are available. This one deck by Stuart Kaplan is the only one that is not available now, and I'm very sorry, but I want to use it. I hope you can forgive me. It's a beautiful deck. And you saw, going from the place 7, which is Netzach, we had the Rising of the Dead, otherwise known as the Judgment card. And then in Hod, which is place 8, we had the Master of the Archons, which in other words is the Hierophant or the Pope, depending on the system you're working with. And then down in spot 9, we had the Veiled Lamp. That is in Yesod, and the Veiled Lamp in other decks is called the Hermit. So yeah, we had Judgment, the Hierophant, Pope, and then the Hermit. Interesting, all major arcana right here in before manifestation. And then finally in spot 10 at Malkut, we had, what did we have? We had the 10th house. And the 10th house is the house of Capricorn. And remember I said, follow the bouncing Jupiter, Saturn, and Capricorn. And here we land at the bottom in Capricorn, in the 10th house, which also would be the natural home of Saturn, right? So, but we're not starting there. We're starting in spot 7 with the Rising of the Dead or Judgment. And this is a Netzach. What is Netzach? Netzach is on the father pillar. It is perpetuity, it's victory and endurance, triumph over obstacles. The pair of Sephiroth, the pair of Sephiroth here, 7 and 9, Netzach and Hod, they're like the feet of the pillar of life, the tree of life. They're the feet of the tree of life. They're the ones that give motion to the energy, to the attributes that are pouring down. Spirit pours down this tree of life, and here is where Spirit starts getting feet, right? And the right foot is the foot of perpetuity, victory, endurance over obstacles. There's an idea of obstacle in both of these pair of Netzach and Hod. So here, we also have the idea that we can begin to feel, comprehend, and experience the beginning of manifestation here. We have the strength to complete and the patience to follow through on the things that we want to do here as well. We might want to ask, how can people perceive God's message? How can it be implemented here? Now, because remember, it's the idea of being able to perceive and implement that which is pouring down the tree of life into manifestation. And we have extreme polarities possible here. But still, we're at the pillar of mercy, and we've got victory, and victory here is rising of the dead. Beautiful card, if you ask me. Lovely card. Very, very much in line with the Egyptian tarot tradition. We've got the kind of skeleton-looking figure above blowing a horn, and we've got figures rising out of a sarcophagus. And one, at the very, very bottom, I don't know if you can see, there is one figure that is not rising. So all are called, but only, what, three out of the four? Yeah, 3 out of 4 are rising, right? So the rising of the dead. Now, in this deck, the rising of the dead points to Saturn. Bouncing Saturn. We have Saturn here. And Saturn, which is housed in both Capricorn and Aquarius, naturally. So, from this card, we have both the cardinal Earth and fixed air's vital attributes entering our world. Now, cardinal Earth, let's get going, let's get the work done, right? And then fixed air, let's think about it. Let's look at where we're moving. Let's think about it. Let's get our thoughts in order. And let's enjoy it a little bit too. Let's relish it a little bit too. Now, but we got the limitation and the boundary setting of Saturn and the rules and the regulations and the progressiveness of Saturn as well. We also have, what do we call them? Hebrew letters. The Hebrew letter for this card is Resh. Resh means the head, which is the beginning of a new cycle. Also, abject poverty. Doesn't that sound fun? Now, we got the beginning of a new cycle. Also, we have real poverty. And this poverty is met by another Hebrew letter of generosity. So everything balances out very nicely. It's also the number 200. The other world was 300. This is the number 200, which both points to wickedness and higher consciousness. There's a duality in this card. We have both the higher consciousness and maybe the primal urges here. It's also the rune of Manaz. Manaz looks like an M with some extra lines going through it. Or M where the lines don't stop where they meet, they go all the way through to the opposite end of the upright pillars. If you see it, you know what it means, what I mean. Manaz, destiny, self-knowledge. Very good attributes for the judgment card, right? Spiritual power is here in Manaz. Intelligence, foresight and creativity, divine order and divine awareness are possible here. But also the opposite of depression and self-deception are possible in Manaz. So we've got a duality here as well. We've got self-knowledge, spiritual awareness, and self-deception and depression as possibilities here. And so I guess we can assume that we are being called from that depression and self-deception into self-knowledge and spiritual power and divine creativity and divine awareness and divine order. Now there's a fatal destiny here. Fatal in the sense of it, not that it's going to kill us, but that this is the ultimate destiny. So it's reminding us not to sink back into forgetfulness when we're called up from it, right? There's a mission for us to fulfill. We are being I'm on a mission from God, if you remember the Blues Brothers, yeah? They didn't fall back asleep after they got their mission. They kept going. They kept awake. Once we awaken, we want to keep awake. We don't want to slumber, fall back into slumbering. There could be delays here. There could be obstacles. Things could there could be a sense of things going wrong, not once, but in succession, if that makes sense. But we awaken, we resurrect, we come alive. And nothing more is more permanent than change, right? That's another thing to remember this card. Nothing is more permanent than change. We want to banish idleness with action. That's part of that waking up, right? We've been slumbering in our self-deception, in our unconsciousness, not the unconscious, but in our unconsciousness. And the way to keep ourselves awake is by activity, if that makes sense, by action. And to remember that the end, whatever ends, is also a beginning. Last week we were talking about endings. That's also a beginning, and here we are called into the beginning, in this spot of victory over our obstacles. We're asked to rise above our emotional turmoil that maybe we felt from last week, to broaden our mentality, to broaden our minds. That's part of that waking up, right? Passing an old condition leads to a new one. That's okay. And that new one, we don't know what it is, but it's still, we know that we are still here and we are still awake, right? So through perception, there is the potential for awareness here in this card. Great way to overcome our obstacles. And that's paired with our next card of Hod, which is named several ways. It's named as majesty and splendor and glory, which are wonderful things. But majesty as a pair to victory, I can see that. But the way that I prefer to look at these two cards is to these two pairings is through the lens of obstacle. I'm not saying that I want to create an obstacle by any means, but Netzach gives us the ability to overcome our obstacle. Hod gives us our ability to surrender to our obstacle. Does that sound like a good thing or a bad thing to you? In the way I mean it, it's the positive surrendering to an obstacle. How could that be positive? Well, let me tell you. Rather than coming up to an obstacle and getting angry at it and trying to hack it out into pieces or to slice it into bits or to cut our path through like picking up a machete and just hacking away at it, there's another way through. A more loving kindness kind of way through. A passivist way through. Yeah, this is on the mother pillar, right? We surrender to the obstacle by not fighting it, but rather allowing it to be as it is, as we open ourselves up and we surrender to it and we take advantage of the power of intention and allow intention to allow us to move past, around, over, under, through the obstacle. Rather than fighting it, we accept it for what it is and we allow ourselves to discover the path. Again, over, under, around, through, whatever that path ends up being, there is a path there. And so it's softening ourselves to be able to move through it rather than tightening ourselves up to become battering rams against it. Does that make sense? So it's that kind of surrendering to what is that allows us to overcome, which is another way to overcome obstacles. And that's the way of Hod. Some other attributes of Hod can be things like, for example, giving form to the symbolic realm. Now, we get the symbols from Netzach and we give them form here. Netzach is the feeling, Hod is the rationalization. Netzach gets all into the I am the victor, and what is God's message, and how can I implement it? And it's all the feels, and here it's let's get it figured out. Now there's also the idea of Netzach being the broader ideas, and Hod being the rationalization of those ideas. Philosophy, science, literature, systems, other reasoning systems that are possible. Netzach can be force, Hod can be form as well. So here we have the walking, the legs of the tree of life giving us movement as well. And so here, in Hod, we had what? We had the master of the arcans, which otherwise would be the Hierophant. And here we have the Hierophant sitting between the pillars, right? Between duality. Sitting in the center with two acolytes at their feet. Also duality. And this card is associated with Mars and Aries in this deck. Now Mars and Aries, we don't really think of as being the Hierophant. We think of maybe being the Emperor, right? In most decks, at least in the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition and the English tradition. But here we have Mars and Aries as the leader of the arcanes. So what is this trying to tell us? It's trying to tell us to ask ourselves, how have we made use of our willpower? The willpower perhaps that came from the emperor before it, how have we made use of it? How have our works shaped who we are as well? Now, how have we made use of our willpower, and how has what we have done shaped who we are? I mean, there's that interactive aspect to our existence in the world. We use our willpower to do, and what we do shapes who we are as well. Also, this is trying to remind us that help through inspiration and realization from intelligence and will are possible. Now we can get help from our inspiration. Our intelligence and will comes from our realization of what is, perhaps. Also meditation. Meditation brings enlightenment here, which kind of echoes this card a little bit, right? That idea of awakenings. Here we have meditation as being the tool of awakening, perhaps. I'm saying perhaps a lot, aren't I? Success through good judgment is possible here. Fortunate influences, strength from developing our willpower, which we will again ask ourselves, how am I using it? Goodwill leads to justice. Yeah? We have goodwill for others and we will act justly in the world. So how does our action form who we are? How do we form our actions? And also the reminder that we want to avoid overindulgence. Now, again, that idea of burnout is possible one way or the other, and here's a reminder of that as well. We got that. Be careful of burnout in the, what card was that? In the, oh gosh, okay, we'll get back to that later. But yes, that desire to overcome burnout in the Five of Cups is echoed here as well. Which is interesting because this is card number 5, right? This is the 5th arcana. So the it was the 6th. Sorry. It was not the 5 of Cups, it was the 6 of Cups. 1, 2, 3, 4. Never mind. Okay, Little brain farts all over the place, and here we are. So yes, in the Six of Cups, we were reminded to be careful of burnout, and here in the fifth arcana, we are being cautioned to beware of burnout as our way of surrendering to the obstacle. Yeah, because beating up against the obstacle will cause burnout, right? So as we surrender, as we allow ourselves to surrender, then we will avoid that burnout of ramming ourselves up against the barrier. And so we move from here into here, which is Yesod. And Yesod, what is Yesod? Yesod is our foundation for manifestation. We haven't even started manifesting yet, but this is our base for manifestation. It's our vehicle to allowing our movement into creation. It's also the dynamo that causes the physical world to be filled with motion and life. Without Yesod, all of this physicality would be void of life. It would be dead. We'd be zombies, for example. Yeah? Yesod gives spirit into the material realm. And again, it's the engine. It's mind and matter together. Mind moving into matter and matter returning into mind. Yeah? It's another translation spot, another transformative, transmutational spot of the tree of life. This is from mind into matter. We were at force to form in 6 in the Tiferet. Here we are, mind to matter. And that card we got here is the Hermit, or the Veiled Lamp in this deck. Beautiful card. And it kind of looks like this guy is holding up. In some versions of this card where we don't see this line at the bottom, this arc kind of looks like a boat to me at the bottom of the card. I don't know if you can see that. And if that looks like a boat, it looks to me like this guy is holding up an impromptu sail for that boat. But that's not what it is. What it is the hermit with his cloak, holding up the cloak, probably protecting the flame of the lamp from the wind. And so here in our foundation, in our transmutation of mind into matter, we've got Jupiter in Leo of all things. Now, well, at least Jupiter can be in Leo, right? Jupiter, that would make it the second decadent of Leo, which would be the Sagittarius decadent of Leo, which would mean that from this card, yeah, the would be pointing to the Sagittarius decadent of Leo and its ruler Jupiter, from which the mutable aspect of fixed fire's vital attributes are entering the world. And so that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, we've got Leo's fire of playfulness and creativity and generosity moving forward, desiring to move forward and clean things up and get going with Sagittarius independently. Which is a great way to be beginning of the movement into manifestation, right? From this energy flowing down the tree of life into Malkuth, which is the next step. That desire to relish this work of the tree of life and get it moving into manifestation in Malkuth, which we will come to in just a moment. So here we are with this card again. What is it? Well, again, we've got Hebrew letters. We have Teth here, which is purity and impunity. A duality is indicated here as well. To notice our blessings in unpleasant events. Sometimes those things which don't seem really happy to us. There's always a diamond hidden in that unhappiness, that dissatisfaction. And if we can find that, that is a blessing, and that's what this card is here to remind us of, as the letter Teth of Hebrew. Also, we have the rune Hagalaz, and Hagalaz is not a really happy rune. It's the rune of hail, ice balls falling from the sky, hail. So it's destructive power. It's unpredictable force. It's also forces of nature and the unconscious, which can be very destructive. And so they ask us to take shelter, to pause, and to perfect our inner harmony so that those inner forces, when they are inner forces, don't burst forth out of control. So that our inner balance can help mitigate the destructive force of the hail of Hagalas. So we have all of this energy bursting forth, wanting to come into creation, into manifestation with Malkut. So what is this? This is wisdom or prudence is here. It's also discretion in all things, silence in the face of argument. It's not fighting back here. It's being quiet, finding center. It's wisdom and prudence. And again, with like Hagalas, finding that inner peace and inner balance in the onslaught of natural disruptive energy, rather than railing against it, right? So as we stay balanced, as we find our center, as we are silent in the face of the onslaught, meek in the sense of not cowering meek, but meek in the sense of present, accepting. And so here in that stance, we also get the idea of strength acquired through experimentation. We get strength by being here, by being present and exploring who it is we are, what it is we're doing, what it is that the resources that we have. Stability leads to accomplishment here. Now that stability we find will help us move forward, will help us achieve whatever it is that we want to accomplish, whatever creation we want to have, whatever experience we've placed on our powerful river of intention. Our knowledge from our experience, our know-how supports our endeavors as well. Not only our silence, but our past experiences support our future experiences in manifestation. And still, we want to be clear, and we want to be observant of what it is we are hoping and wishing for, and being sure that they are true to the truth of our nature here in this card, the Hermit. So we got very different attributions for this card in this deck than we do for perhaps a Hermit card in a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, or even in a Terre de Marseille deck. So here we have that idea of strength through experimentation, finding our center, our silence being our path to accomplishment, to evolution, to experience which help support our further actions and creations in the world. This is so interesting, I think. And so, where do we land? Now we move from that card right into Malkut. And Malkut is the manifestation. Malkut is the landing of the matter. Yeah? God descended into the world here in Malkut. And in that Malkut spot, we've got the 10th house, which is Capricorn, right? Which is the house of Capricorn, of career, of status as well. You know, Capricorn wants status and wants to climb up that mountain. Destiny is also here. Social roles, we want to be active in society as a Capricorn. But we have the potential of our actions in the world being recognized and getting attention for the things that we do in the world. So we want to be bold. We want to stand up for ourselves and the contributions we've made. Now we do our work in the world, we relish the work that we do in the world, and we stand up for it because we're proud of it. We know the reasons why we have done the things we've done. And we know that they are done from a righteous stance. And that's why the way that this energy has flowed through this tree is so important to landing here. And it's asking us to consider, do we want to change what we're doing? It could be a career change. Now, not all of us have the resources or the ability to change careers at will, but that might be something to consider. But this could be a good time for some kind of change, which reminds us of that world card at the very, very top of this spread in Kether, in the Ein Sof. Now that change, we might want to consider, is it time for a change? And if we can't actually change our careers, we can also focus on improving the current situation that we are in. And if we can't manage finding a new job or looking for something new, maybe we could ask for more responsibility. We could improve our experience in the work environment that we are living in by doing more, not by blaming other people and saying, you fix this and you fix this and you get over that and you do that. And that's not what this card is saying. Now we improve our situation where we are by asking for more things to do, being careful that we aren't walking ourselves in the direction of burnout or being overwhelmed, because that's not what we're talking about here. So if we can't change jobs, maybe we can change the job that we're doing, and maybe asking for some more responsibilities will shine a light on our capabilities, and maybe our job can naturally change into something different in the same place. Does that make sense? But it's not only the work that we're doing at the office or whatever our workplace is, it's also how we are acting in the world. The actions we are doing. Maybe if we can't completely change the actions we are doing, maybe we can incorporate one or two things. Bring on more responsibilities to find different ways of expressing who we are in the world. Right? So here we are. That's the bottom. That's the very, very bottom of the tree, and that was the bottom of the psychological or etheric triangle. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to show you that whole spread again. And then we're going to read that spread in three different ways. We're going to read the mother pillar, the father pillar, and then the lightning path going down. So here we go. Here's the spread. So that was the spread, right? And like I said, we're going to start with the mother pillar. The mother pillar is the pillar on the left, and it's the pillar that flows down. It's the pillar of severity. It's the pillar of the divine moving into manifestation. And on that side, we had, beginning at the top, we had the page of discs, good place to start for the beginning of manifestation. And then we had the hanged man, and then we had the master of the arcanes, or the Hierophant. So, one court card and two major arcana going down the pillar of the mother, the pillar of severity, the mother pillar. So what is that telling us? Yeah, divine energy, we're starting off with the idea of we're coming into the beginning of the light. Now we've ended one cycle and we're moving into the start of the light, and we look at opportunities and we seize. I don't want to say seize the opportunity because that sounds too aggressive, but planting seeds, yeah? We plant the seeds now. Not being attached to the results, but we take the opportunity to start planting the seeds for results to be manifested. Yeah, we do it with righteousness. We do it as a righteous agent of change in the world. We take the opportunity to act in the world. For our Queen Mother, our Queen, the Queen of discs, of course, but also because we enjoy doing it. And that moves us right into the Hanged Man, which in this deck is very different, remember, right? It's Lamed, it's the ox goad. That we start the work in the page of discs, and we start planting the seeds, and then we start giving of ourselves to lift up those around us. So we start doing the work, but before the plants start to grow, we start giving of ourselves to others and lifting others up as well. Yeah? And as we do that, our creative urges will start to stir. And our imagination can begin to be applied. Not before we start planting the seeds. Because don't you notice that I do it as well. A lot of the times, what do? We do it in another order. We sit back and we think and we hem and we haw. What could it be like? What would it be like if I do this? What would it be like if I do that? If I plant this seed, what would happen? If I plant that seed, what would happen? This is telling us to do the other thing. To take the opportunity. Okay, so there's an opportunity to plant seeds, plant the seed. And as we're waiting for it to grow, as we do the work of lifting others up, we can start imagining where it is that we're going. And then as we imagine that, because we remember, we're never off of our powerful course of intention. The powerful current of intention is always moving us in the direction of what we have desired for ourselves, whether we are aware of our placing those things on the current of our intention or not. So we're always headed in the right direction, whether we give it too much attention or not. The question is, how open are we to moving? And so here, we're asked to open ourselves to the current of intention as well as the hanged man by applying our imagination, by stirring our creative urges, and by conquering our material temptations. We also give without thought of recompense. Yeah, we give for the pleasure of giving here, and then we move from the hanged one to the master of the arcans. We move into our mastery, which again was Aries, Mars in Aries in this card, right? We had the moon in Libra, and then we move into Mars in Aries, which is again a really cardinal move forward kind of attribute for the direction of the energy on this pillar. And we move into what? We move into asking ourselves, how have we made use of our power in the world? And how have our works shaped who we are? We consider what we are doing and how what we are doing has shaped who we are. If we do something good, maybe we have become more holy, more saintly. We have improved, we have evolved. If we do something bad, maybe our characters are also changed by the things we have done. Have you noticed that in the world? I'm sure you have. Movies have been made about that. Also to remember that our successes come through good judgment. We want to be considerate about how we are creating in the world, how we are acting in the world here. And that our goodwill is going to lead to justice for all. So that's the flow of the mother pillar, right? We take the opportunities that present themselves. We are not attached to the results. We move into giving of ourselves as we overcome our negative impulses and the stirrings of our creative urges and applying our imagination to help to move us forward. And then we ask ourselves, what the heck are we doing here? Are we doing what we intended to do here? Are we doing what we came in to do as eternal beings, as divine beings having these human experiences in these beautiful bodies that we're co-creating? So that's the mother pillar. That's the pillar of severity, where things get limited and focused into a successful path, as it seems, right? And now we move over to the father pillar. And the father pillar starts at the bottom of the right and moves up. So we begin with the judgment card, or the, what was it called? The rising of the dead in this deck. And we move into the 6 of cups. Yes, it was the 6 of cups. And then we top it off with the 9 of swords. So this is kind of a cautionary tale, but it's the tale of opening up to the divine. This is the pillar of mercy, where we open ourselves to the divine and allow ourselves to rise in the direction of reunion with the divine. And how does that begin? It begins with the call. It begins with the rising of the dead. Yeah, where we recognize that we have a fatal destiny, an ultimate destiny of reunion with the divine, right? And that there might be delays, there might be obstacles, but we are in the process of resurrection. We are in the process of banishing idleness through action. Our action in the world is what is going to get us free. And so we want to broaden our minds. We want to let the old conditions pass and wake up to what is and stay awake. And as we stay awake, we move into the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups, again, was Jupiter in Cancer. And here in Jupiter in Cancer, we are asked to remember that we can go further when we work together. This is not a do it alone, do it yourself path where everything is a co-creative experience. Every work is co-creative. So we do well, we do better when we do it together. And we have the power to make our visions a reality. We have the power to do and the patience to get it done if we allow ourselves to stay awake, like we were asked to do in the Rising of the Dead. And then we move into this card of restrictions at the top, right? We move up, we're working together, we're doing what we want to do, and we know that we can be successful if we do it together, and we are patient, we're careful of being burnt out, and then we move into this card of like, I'm tied, my spirit is tied to this material. And maybe that's that final step of, okay, I'm here and I recognize my regality, I recognize the fullness of my divinity, and that it's trapped in this body, it's trapped in this physical world. So what do we do with that? How is that the pillar of mercy? I think then we realize that we've got choices. We can accept who we are and where we are and allow ourselves to enjoy where we are as physical beings. And remember that I strongly believe that we chose to be here. We were not forced into these bodies. We were not sent into these bodies. We were not crammed into these bodies. No one pulled us out of the ether and smashed us into this physical universe. We chose to manifest here. And so, because we chose to manifest here, we can choose to enjoy it and choose to reconnect with the divine. And it's that moment of, wait a second, I'm trapped here. I think that is that last second of that last stage of enlightenment. It's when you realize the fullness of who you are in these bodies, that you actually realize that I'm trapped, and then you can take that next step of liberation. Whether it's a liberation out of the body itself or liberation within the body is possible when we recognize the eternal nature, the fullness of the eternal nature that we are in these physical bodies. And if we can do that while we're still in these physical bodies, that is the waking up to the power of intention, if that makes sense. Okay, friends, I'm going to change over for just a second. My phone is acting up on me. So, just a second, I'll be right back, and then we'll do the lightning path. Just a second. Friends, I realized the problem my phone was having. My memory was full, and so my camera kept turning itself off because the video files were getting too long for it. So we're back, and we're going to start reading the lightning path going down. And so we start with the top. We start with Kether. And here, again, this is the energy, these are the attributes, these are the contents that are waiting in the wings that we can't perceive yet, but are ready to start walking on stage. And we start off with the world. Here's the world card again. And the world, remember, this is Sophia's immanence in the material, into the manifest creation, into the material realm. It's also our immanent manifestation. We are eternal beings, which means we're eternal beings now, presently, in the eternal now, entering into and co-creating these bodies and these human experiences that we're having. And so perhaps that realization is waiting in the wings for us. Also waiting in the wings for us is that there is order that is going to give structure to what appears to be chaos in the world. And that we have this desire to both unify ourselves with the eternal nature that we are and the divine, just as the divine is eager to be ever consciously present within our lives. The reunion is waiting in the wings for us. An awakening to the oneness is waiting in the wings for us. Which leads us right to this card, which is our reminder that with Gemini and Gemini, with Mercury here, that, okay, but then we're in these bodies, these bodies that are limited. We're in these bodies in space that is limited. And we have these minds that have been so free before we got into these bodies. And here we are in these bodies, and it feels like we're chained a little bit, right? So maybe we start railing against that. We start railing against if I win, that means you have to lose, or if you win, that means I have to lose. What's up with that? And so we move from that into the Page of Discs and say, okay, wait a second. Okay, so let's get centered in who we are and where we are. Yeah? I am a righteous agent of change. And I see opportunities to start a new cycle of creation, and I'm going to start planting those seeds, and I'm not going to be attached to what is going to come up. I'm going to start doing the work. I'm going to start getting stuff done. And I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to recognize that I can always change course if I don't like the way things are going, but I can also appreciate what is happening when things start happening in the future. And I can learn. I can be a student of abundance here. I can learn the abundance of this beautiful universe that I'm in and enjoy being in this universe rather than what I was just feeling, which was trapped here in the Nine of Swords. And so then we move into this card that we did not see until now, which is Da'at. And Da'at, this is the void. This is the space where the tree of life fell, leaving a void between the supernal triangle and the emotional triangle, or the ethical triangle below. And the central pillar fell with the fall of the tree of life. And so we've got this space, and in this space we've got Jupiter. Now you see, this is the planet Jupiter. Jupiter, we have expansion, positivity, luck and risk. Knowledge is here, which is interesting because this is the Sephira of knowledge. Yeah? Hokmah is wisdom, Binah is understanding, Da'at is knowledge. And so Jupiter is the planet of knowledge. Perfect fit, right? Wanderlust is here, searching, zealousness is here as well. So we accept our page of discsness and our desire to explore. Yeah, the Page of Discs is a student of abundance, right? So here, our wanderlust. We want to search things out. We want to explore. And it's a reminder that a change of luck is coming. So if things have been hard, things will start easing up soon. We deserve the good things in life. Jupiter is here to give us those good things. Yeah, manifestation. It's a tool of manifestation as well. We can become a better version of ourselves here as well too, radiating our positivity that we learned as we have embodied the Page of Discs just a moment before. Yeah? And Jupiter makes our ideas bigger, so we want to be selective of what ideas we're putting in that expansion engine of Jupiter. If we put the world is crap, everything is harsh, everything is, if we put the nine of swords into the space of Jupiter by itself, those limitations, that sense of bondage is only going to increase. But if we put the page of discs into there, those wonderful potential possibilities, student-like attributes are going to expand as well, leaving room for, but we want to leave room for critical thinking and questioning of what's happening. Okay, so the problem has not solved. I'm going to push forward with this reading and we'll get it done. This video is going to look a little bit disjointed. I'm sorry, I can't figure it out yet. We'll figure it out in a little bit. So then we move into this. We had the Six of Cups, and the Six of Cups, again, we move from Jupiter, that expansion, and here we have the idea that we want to make careful plans and stick to them. Yeah, so we've expanded. Now we want to plan. We want to stick to the plan. We have the power to make our visions reality, but we want persistence, and we want to do the work. And we want to be careful of burning out, because Jupiter could cause burnout, right? So here we've got that little bit of caution added to it. So be careful of burnout, use our persistence. We can get things manifested, those ideas manifested. And then we move into the Hanged Man, where we realize that yes, and as we do that, we can lift other people up as well. And our creative urges will start stirring again. And we can apply our imagination, and that applied imagination will move more creativity, more work into the world. And we can guide our emotions with our reason. We can also use our emotions to create perfect unions. Our idealism can drive us forward. To the Five of Discs, which is Saturn in Sagittarius, which is more limitations. We want to be clear about our ethics. We want to be clear about what it is we're doing. We want to let what we do be guided by our moral sense, by our morality. It's time for us to ask here who we are, what we believe in, and how we interact with society as well. Which leads us into the call. Yeah, as we get ourselves right with society, we can wake up to who we are. We can wake up from our slumber, from our sleep, and stay awake. We can recognize our destiny to move forward and to reunite with the divine, and to that every ending is also a beginning. That we can pass the old stuff and move forward free. And that moves us into the Master of the Arcanes here. The Hierophant, or the High Priest. And here we have the idea that, well, how have we made use of our willpower? And how has what we have done affected who we have become, or who we are becoming? Now, how have we used our willpower? How have we used our intelligence? And fortune is on our side if we allow it to be. We are strengthened by the use of our willpower, by developing our willpower. And our goodwill will lead to justice for ourselves and others, which leads us to Leo, here, the veiled lamb. That Jupiter in Leo, which tells us that our wisdom and our prudence and discretion in all things will lead us forward. Yeah? Our silence in the face of argument will lead us forward. It's not a weak stance, it's a stance of power. We strengthen ourselves through our experimentation, through our trying things out, and our stability leads to accomplishment. Right? Our knowledge from experience and our know-how supports our endeavors in the world. And then we move into 11, which is Capricorn, where we focus on the work that we are doing, that the work that we have done is worthwhile and we deserve recognition for it and we can receive recognition for it. And if we aren't satisfied with the work we are doing, we can change in one way or the other. Maybe we find new work, or maybe we find ways to change the situation that we're in so that we feel more satisfaction, we feel more expansion from the stuff that we're doing, right? Which is here in the final manifestory section. And so that's why I titled this spread, as it seems, Relish the Work. Because as we relish the work and we move through this path, we enjoy it. And we are recognized for it by ourselves and by others. Which is the blessing of Capricorn, right? So friends, there we are. That is the end of the reading. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. And please hit that thumbs up button so that you get, so that the channel gets more attention. Now, the more thumbs up, the more eyes are drawn to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Send me an email, we'll get you a reading. So friends, like I said, my phone is freaking out. I don't understand why. I'll get it fixed before next week, I'm sure. But until then, oh, and remember, in just a minute, in just a second, there will be a short clip giving you the names of the decks and the names of the creators, and the links are below if you want to check out the decks. So friends, now, as always, he rushes to the end. I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.